I'm so sorry, Mr. Wright. I'm sorry for what my sister said. Drastic crimes require drastic measures. That's just the way it is. We did what we had to, in order for him to get the verdict he deserved. I didn't know. I never knew that the SL9 incident was just another name for the Joe Dark killings. Sounds like everyone's heard about these killings but me. Lana wanted Dark convicted so badly. That's why she used me. That's why she used what happened to me. What do you mean, what happened to you? It's all there in that file. Joe Dark's last victim was Prosecutor Neil Marshall. When he murdered Officer Marshall's brother, he left behind an incriminating piece of evidence. But what did you have to do with those killings, Emma? On the night Prosecutor Neil Marshall was murdered, Joe Dark tried to kill me. What? He tried to kill you? Officer Marshall's brother, Neil, was only trying to save me. So that means you... Yes. I was a witness in the Joe Dark trial. Didn't see that one coming. What's up, everyone? This is Destroyer229, and welcome back to Let's Play Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney. Last time, we got through the second part of the second day of the trial. We learned quite a bit about what Jake Marshall was up to, that he was the one who impersonated Goodman, and that, according to Lana, that they did indeed fabricate some sort of evidence in the Joe Dark killings. In this episode, we are, well, in our final day of investigations. Gotta try to find as much evidence and find out about these murders and the trial that was SL9. We need to find out as much as we can about that. Now, before we really get going, I do apologize that there was quite a bit of a lengthy break last week with me barely uploading anything. I did, again, full transparency, I'd actually recorded this episode. In fact, I recorded 4 episodes. But technical difficulties got in the way of that. This time it wasn't so much the footage getting corrupted, so much as my audio got screwed up. And technical difficulties, I mean, I could call it technical difficulties because that's what it was, but the reason wasn't that the footage was corrupted or lost or anything like that. The biggest problem was that somehow my audio program, which is Audacity, somehow the input for my voice got changed. So instead of coming from my microphone, the microphone that went through the program was from my laptop. So to give you an idea as to what exactly that would have sounded like, here's a little clip just from my intro, just to give you an idea of how it sounded like when I started to edit these videos. Yeah, last time ended off on quite a bit of a cliffhanger. Anyway, what's up, everyone? This is Destroyer229, and welcome back to Let's Play Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney. Yeah, you could see why I really didn't want to upload those. The audio quality is just really atrocious, and I didn't want to do that for 4 episodes. So unfortunately, this is another one of those cases where I'm basically not going through this blind. And I do wish that I could have just kind of redone those sooner, but real life stuff's kind of getting in the way. I'm gonna play, I'm preparing, doing planning stuff for my eventual wedding. So a lot of stuff's going on, and I just didn't have the opportunity to actually record up until now. So I do apologize for just the radio silence when it came to this, and I do apologize that the next few episodes aren't going to be blind. I basically got through the entire length of this final day of investigation. I got up to where the final day of the trial would have begun, but didn't actually start the trial. Overall, it's not really all that bad, to be honest. I did get just royally stuck on one part, but we'll get to that when we get there. In the meantime, now that I've explained why I haven't uploaded in the last week, let's maybe get some more information. It happened 2 years ago. It was right around this time of the year, too. There was a terrible thunderstorm that day, unusual for the season. I was alone in my sister's office. We were planning to eat dinner together once she finished her work. Then, suddenly, this terrifying man came bursting into the office! Joe Dark. It seemed like he was running from someone. He pulled out a knife and screamed at me. I didn't know what was going on. Just then, Prosecutor Marshall showed up. Jake Marshall's brother. Joe Dark tried to take me hostage, but before he could, Mr. Marshall tackled him. Then... What happened? I'll never forget it. Lightning struck, and the lights went out, and suddenly, a bolt of lightning flashed outside the window, lighting up the office for an instant. What I saw then burned a permanent picture in my mind. I can still see it now. A permanent picture? Okay. Well, before we talk about that picture, I don't remember the moment when Dark stabbed Mr. Marshall. So you weren't able to testify about that? No. I was only asked about when I was attacked. That must be why why she made up the crime. Made it up? You mean provided bogus evidence? The prosecutor's office wanted that guilty verdict so badly. Lana forged the evidence, and Mr. Edgeworth used it. Edgeworth? Yes, but I'm sure he didn't know anything about it. He couldn't have known he was being given false evidence. Even so, that's when it all started. The rumors about Mr. Edgeworth, I mean. It's all my fault. If I could have just testified properly, none of this would have happened. So it's true. Even though he may not have known it, Edgeworth really was involved in falsifying evidence. After that case ended, Lana was never the same. She became cold, like she is today. She must not have been able to face up to what she did, especially not to Emma. Okay, about that picture. What did you see in the instant that crime occurred? Dark knocked down Mr. Marshall and raised his knife. Neil Marshall was stabbed right in front of this poor girl. I don't remember what happened after that. Apparently, I passed out. When I came to, Lana was cradling me in her arms. Poor Emma. You've been through so much. I couldn't bring myself to testify about that instant. I tried, but the words just wouldn't come out. I drew a picture, but it wasn't any good. 2 years ago. he must have been 14? I mean, that's understandable. Once it was all over, I made up my mind. I decided that when I grew up, I'd become a scientific investigator. I want to be able to fight crime with my testimonies and find the evidence to make an airtight case. That way Lana would never have to forge any. I see. I think I'm finally starting to understand what makes them a tick. But there's still something that bothers me about that crime. Oh, what is it? There's something that's puzzling me, Emma. What is it? You said you were in Lana's office at that time, right? That's right. Why then would a serial killer be running in there? Not only that, but he was being chased by a prosecutor? Oh, there's no mystery there. Joe Dark had been taken in for questioning that day. Taken in for questioning? You mean by the police? Of course. This happened at the police department. He tried to run away halfway through the interview and fled into my sister's office. But why did he run all the way over to your sister's office? Because the detective's offices in the questioning room are right across from the elevator. Across from the elevator? But Lana was the chief prosecutor, wasn't she? No, silly. Didn't I tell you? 2 years ago, Lana was a detective. She was the best in the entire force. What? That's news to me! After the Joe Dark case, she was transferred to the prosecutor's office and made chief prosecutor. Lana used to be a detective? I'd better have another talk with her. Okay. So before she was a prosecutor, she was a detective working with the police. Well, we need to get as much information as we can, so let's pay Lana a visit. Lana! Mr. Wright, it seems I keep causing you trouble. Falsifying evidence. I didn't think you were the type. Criminals don't mind playing foul. Why should we? But Lana, if you're wrong, an innocent person might be found guilty! Believe me, I understand the risks. Lana, Emma told me about you. Oh? About how you were a detective 2 years ago, and how the SL9 incident was the reason for your transfer to the prosecutor's office. That's right. Could you fill me in on the details? Especially about that unusual change of jobs. I suppose you have a right to know, Mr. Wright. Okay, well, get to talking then. But first, a lot of revelations were uncovered at the trial today, not the least of which was the fact that this case is largely connected to another one 2 years ago. Evidence from that case was stolen as well, though I expected as much. I know how obsessive Officer Marshall can be. That trial, it really wasn't fair, was it? I believed in you, Lana. I believed that no matter what happened, you'd always stick to the truth. It couldn't be helped, Emma. At that trial 2 years ago, I sold my soul. Well, all drama aside, the fact of the matter is at 5:15, there was no murder at the police department. Tell me it's not true, Lana, what the witness, Miss Starr, said about you stabbing Mr. Goodman with a knife. Lana, I don't understand. Why won't you tell us? Emma, this doesn't involve just me. I don't think I've ever seen Lana look so phased before. Okay. So, about being a detective. It's true. I was a member of the police force 2 years ago. She was amazing! They still talk about all the cases she and Chief Gant cracked together. Chief Gant? He was the deputy chief of police back then, but he still worked the crime scenes. Damon Gant. He was everything I aspired to be. They were the best team ever! They solved crimes before the reports could even be filed! Emma really idolizes her big sister. But now you're chief prosecutor. What happened? I always planned on becoming a prosecutor. The reason I became a detective was to gain experience investigating crime scenes, so you can use that experience in court, right? Gant's help in the SL9 case was crucial to its resolution. After that, he became chief of police and arranged my transfer to the prosecutor's office. Maybe I should ask more about this investigation of theirs 2 years ago. Okay, so let's talk about it. 2 years ago, I was second in command of the detectives investigating Dark. Second in command? That means the investigation lead was Damon Gant, right? Yes. Deputy Chief Gant and I shared the same office and the same investigations. They even had the same office? We led a team of the best detectives on the force. Detective Goodman, whose case it was, Jake Marshall, and Angel Starr. It was the first time Marshall worked with his brother. He was quite gung-ho. Without a doubt, Joe Dark was the serial killer. We asked him to come in for questioning. We were desperate for evidence. That was when his final murder took place. When he tried to murder Emma. Prosecutor Marshall was trying to save me from Dark. You see, the first person who happened upon the scene of the crime was me. Now you tell us! Okay. Tell me more about this. Damon Gant and Neil Marshall were the ones questioning Dark that day. The investigation was in its final stages, and Dark must have suddenly panicked. So, he waited until Gant and Marshall let their guards down, then fled the room. From there, he ran straight to the office, shared by Deputy Chief Gant and myself. That's where he found me. So, you were the first person to run to the scene, Lana. It appears so. I was filling some papers while Gant and Marshall were questioning Dark. When I returned to my office, I saw 3 bodies on the floor and smelled blood. 3 bodies? Prosecutor Marshall, the victim Emma who had passed out, and the suspect Joe Dark. During the struggle, it seems Mr. Marshall struck a final blow before he died. Joe Dark had incurred a minor concussion and lay unconscious. What did you do? To be honest, I panicked. I picked up Emma, carried her out of the room, and just held her. Can't blame her. After all, her sister... Oh, let me try that again. Can't blame her. After all, her sister must have gone through. After that, I placed Dark under immediate arrest. Let me get this straight. You were all involved in the SL9 incident. That's right. Quite the coincidence, I don't buy it. What are you saying? There's no way everyone involved in this trial was also involved in that incident just by chance. But that case was solved 2 years ago. At least one person went to extremes because they didn't believe it was truly solved. Officer Marshall. Yes. His actions came as a surprise to me as well. Ever since his brother died, he's changed completely. I guess he wasn't convinced with the ruling against Joe Dark. Life doesn't end with the closing of a case. Everyone has to live the rest of their lives with their memories. That case just might not be over yet. Emma was assaulted by Dark at the police department, right? Yes, in the office that Damon Gant and I shared. The office that Mr. Gant now occupies by himself. The Chief's office. Maybe we should have a look at the Chief's office. The site of the final SL9 murder. Okay. I'm not entirely sure what else we'll be able to find there. I say that knowing, after sharing what I've shared with you all. But Phoenix doesn't know that. So let's head on over to Criminal Affairs. I don't see Detective Gumshoe anywhere. Things seem kind of quiet around here today. You're right. Chief of Detectives seems the same, though. Why don't we go look for some other people to talk to? Right. We can come back here later. Well, I mean, the big reason we're here is because that's the easiest way to get to the department entrance. Howdy, Bambina. Oh, Mr. Marshall! I never thought things turn out this way when I woke up this morning. Que Sarah. You never know where life will lead you. Hey, Bambina? I should have known my luck had run out when old Billy dried up this morning. Billy? Must be his pet cactus. Say, where are you headed? Just over to the prosecutor's office for a little interrogation. It's a voluntary appearance, but we all know I won't be coming back. Sorry, but you can't go in the evidence room today, partner. But, Mr. Marshall, why did you do it? Why do prospectors head west? If ever there was a case I needed to know the truth about, it was that one. Before you turn yourself in, Mr. Marshall, would you mind telling us exactly what happened? Huh. Looks like I won't be getting my steak lunch today. Alright, well, while we have the chance, let's go ahead and talk to Marshall about why he did what he did. Something was fishy about that trial from the beginning. It wasn't just me either. All the detectives thought so. What do you mean, fishy? Some of the facts reported were inconsistent with the evidence we found. For example, the murder weapon. The murder weapon? You mean that switchblade knife with the broken tip? That was Joe Dark's, alright. But in the initial autopsy report, a question was raised. A question? The blade of the knife was not a perfect match with the wound the victim sustained. What does that mean? It means there's a good chance that knife was not the murder weapon. However, in the report that was finally submitted, that possibility had been erased. Could the facts have been concealed with forged evidence? That case left behind scars on all of us. The scars that the SL9 incident left behind. Okay. Talk about his time as a prosecutor. Or his brother. I got the looks, but he got the brains. He was one of the best prosecutors around. I just made detective when it went down. It was our first case together. How old was he? Your brother? He was 27 at the time. He was awarded the highest honor that very day. The highest honor? You mean the King of Prosecutors. I knew it! What do you look at me like that for? That's an honor for a prosecutor. Mr. Marshall must have really been close with his brother. The day the SL9 incident took place, that wasn't the same day as... That's right. It was the day of the evidence transferal. Ugh. Interesting. It was drizzling that morning, and by nightfall, there was thunder. I can't believe 2 years have gone by already. I tried to steal the evidence so the case wouldn't die. Apparently, someone tried to stop you. Detective Goodman was murdered, and the evidence locker was empty. I do wonder just what exactly his plan was, if Goodman hadn't already... Well, to be fair, he didn't know about the fingerprint lock, so maybe that's why. It was just pure chance that he was able to actually get into that locker. Otherwise, he just would have been stopped. Unless he had some fake fingerprint that he could use. But again, he didn't know about the lock, so... dumb luck, I guess? There was something going on behind the scenes in that case. We all knew that later. Every detective involved in that investigation, save one, was taken care of. Miss Starr was fired, and I was demoted and boxed away in a tiny room. What about Detective Goodman? If they did something to him too, the commissioners would get suspicious. No. They were careful enough not to be too obvious. They? Who are you talking about? Don't get upset, Bambina. I mean Damon Gant. And Lana Skye. Okay, so those two were involved with the demotion and sacking of Marshall and Starr. The investigation lead, Damon Gant, and his second in command, Lana Skye. There wasn't a person on the force who hadn't heard of that duo. That case was the biggest step in both of their careers. After the case ended, Lana transferred to the prosecutor's office, right? Yeah. Damon Gant, the new chief of police, arranged for that to happen. She's never been the same since she left. Everyone who knew her said so. Chief Prosecutor Skye was totally different when she was a detective. Now that he mentions it, Emma said something like that too. Tell me, what happened to my sister? Sorry, Bambina, but her secret is too well guarded. I never found out. Lana's secret. It all started 2 years ago. So there you have it. That's my story. Did you enjoy it, partner? It was certainly enlightening. There's one thing for sure I found out in court today. That boy Edgeworth isn't my enemy. He was the one who used falsified evidence to get a guilty verdict. But someone else was the one who gave him that evidence and planned everything. That someone is Damon Gant. Don't believe me? Well, I don't blame ya. I won't even be a patrolman after today. Too bad I won't be around to work with ya when you become a real scientific investigator. Adios, Bambina. Alright. Well, there goes Marshall. Off to be interrogated and promptly sacked. Still, this is about as good as time as any to call it a day here. So, next time on Let's Play, Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney. We've got a few different places that we still need to get to. Although, well, we need to find some way to get into Gant's office first. But now that we've kind of heard Marshall's side of everything, and Lana's, and Emma's, I guess, there's still a lot more information that we still need to get. So we'll try to get access to Gant's office and see just where exactly the Joe Dark killings ended next time. So, until then, everyone, take care.